Grayson Report, happy Monday. What is up? And I want to give a shout out to Bernadette Lonefire, whose birthday is today. So happy birthday, Bernadette. Hearts for Bernadette if you haven't done so already. Lisa Boo, what is up? Carol, Tammy, Wendy, Dusty, Matthew. Joanne, how's it going? Emily Parkinson, how's it going? How's everyone doing? How's your Monday going? It's the dreaded Monday. After a holiday weekend. And crazy shopping. I don't know if anyone did crazy Cyber Monday sales. But then again, Amazon and Walmart, they kind of have sales throughout the year too. Like Amazon just had one, I think in October, like for 2 days. And then I know before that, it was like right before the summertime. So we still get sales, but I mean, everything goes on sale this weekend. Bernadette's having a B-Day strawberry margarita and mole enchiladas. That is super cool, Bernadette. Wendy pre-shopped. I'm an Amazon person, so I pretty much just shop online. I even shop online for my groceries. It's just easier. You don't have to deal with people. You can see exactly what you want. The only hard thing is if you're buying like a clothing or something. Shirts, I kind of know what size I am, so it's but when you want to buy pants or something, you're like, huh, does that fit? That's the only problem. But other than that, that's kind of how I shop. It's easier. You could do your research from the comfort of your bed or your home. You don't have to worry about people. You don't have to worry about traffic, stupid drivers, anything like that. Tyrana, what is up? Matthew couldn't do any sales after I just backed the Hasbro Ghostbusters Echo 1A with working lights and sounds. Took a bit of money over 2 feet long car. Super cool. They have one, Matthew. They have Sideshow Collectibles has one too. I don't think it lights up though. Wendy goes, I'm in rural Tennessee. No bueno on deliveries. That's only thing that sucks about living in the middle of nowhere. It's cool though. I would find it I would love it actually. But if you got to order something, it probably takes you a long time to get something, right, Wendy? Lisa Boo goes, I never shopped online for groceries. Maybe need to try. No, it's like way easier. I just do that. I do that from now on. I mean, sometimes you don't get the stuff depending on I go with Walmart. If you don't get something, you can always go in there and say you didn't get it. So it's pretty convenient because I will get a delivery where half my order is missing. I had that happen one time and I was like, what the hell? But I got my money back, so it doesn't matter. Lone Fire's over there on my Twitch. So if you guys want to follow me on Twitch, if you haven't done so already, Bernadette has dropped the link. Matthew goes, no, there's a bigger Ecto one with lights and sounds made of metal, but it's over $2,000. Wow. Wendy goes, UPS gets it done. Amazon is sketchy. I file many complaints. That sucks. So Amazon sucks for rural areas. That sucks. Oh, that's cool, Matthew. It has roll-up windows. Super cool. I mean, I guess it's worth the money if it does all that. Heather, whatever. What is up? Dusty goes, there's a lot of things they won't send to the islands, but I love shopping online. It is super, like I said, it's super convenient. Like, you don't have to deal with stupid drivers, traffic, people. Bernadette goes, I will never order Temu again. I did it once. I mean, I don't really for like Temu and what's that other one? There's two of them. There's Temu and what's that other one? Forgot the name of that other one. I haven't done it in a while. AliExpress. Do not buy because it's knockoff stuff. A lot of it is. A lot of it will be stolen. I hate to say it. Some of the items there are stolen from small businesses, which kind of suck because I always see small businesses posted. This is my design from that's on Temu. Don't get a shirt from them because they suck. It's like literally if you get a shirt from them, it literally looks like they printed an image from the computer and then like ironed it on the shirt. So I don't really shop at Temu unless it's something crazy. Like I've gotten figurines from Temu. Because I collect gnomes. Those were fine. So it just all depends. Or rubber ducky I've got from there too. It just depends on what you get. And then it takes a while because it's coming from China. Jennifer. Did I see Jennifer Marie? Jennifer Marie, I did. What is up? Emily Parkinson goes, I do Walmart for groceries. Membership has free same day delivery and includes Paramount. What I do, that's what I use, Emily. I use it. I usually just, put in my order the night before, pick my time because usually the times are all open if you're doing it the day before, and then boom. Heather, whatever goes, at least if you get Dollar Tree, you don't have high expectations. Yes, that's the only thing. You got to just be careful with what you get with Temu and AliExpress, but it depends on what you get. Like I said, I've gotten figurines, rubber duckies, stuff like that from there, and they're fine. Maybe not shirts. Wendy can't because she's rural. She can't get the DoorDash nor delivery. I guess that's the downfall, but then it's cool though because you don't have to deal with people. I would love it. Probably. I would enjoy it. Did anybody watch anything interesting over the weekend while we wait for people to trickle in before I get into the nitty gritty? I have been behind, so I haven't really been watching anything. I know Alien Romulus is on Hulu. I still have to catch that. I know there's a few that are coming out. In fact, I think Beetlejuice is coming out soon, isn't it? Can't believe it's already December. November flew by, as did October. Yeah, it does. Beetlejuice comes out, for those of you that haven't seen it. Comes out this week, I think. Because I was like, wait a minute, we're already in December. Beetlejuice will begin streaming on Max on Friday, December 6th. So if you guys are hankering to see that and have Max, check that out. I know there's some other ones. I think See No Evil with James McAvoy, I think, is coming out this month. Terrifier 3, I think it's coming to Screambox, but I don't know where else it's coming to. But it is going to come out with like a box set. If you guys like to buy movies, I think it's coming out on the 17th of this month. Can't think of any other movies at the moment. Matthew got a Christine license plate based on the film's car tags from AliExpress, but it's printed on metal, not stamped like a real one. Also, a vintage-looking Amtrak with their old design on it signed for my dad who worked there. Oh, super cool. The animated Lord of the Rings movies are on Max, along with the Hobbit animated movies from the 80s. I know there's a whole bunch of true crime docs as well. If you guys are a fan of Dexter, I didn't really get into Dexter. I know there's a lot of fans out there of Dexter, but I never really did. I believe there's going to be like a reboot. Dexter Original Sin full-length trailer takes us back to 91. I haven't seen the trailer. Vigilante serial killer Dexter Morgan is back, but this time he's a little younger. Paramount Plus Showtime original series Dexter Original Sin got an official full-length trailer today, and it looks really compelling. The show is a period piece taking place in 1991, where we follow young Dexter, played by Patrick Gibson, as he learns how to get away with murder using advice from his father, Harry, who's played by Christian Slater. When his bloodthirsty urges can't be ignored any longer, reads the synopsis, Dexter must learn to channel his inner darkness. With the guidance of his father, Harry, he adopts a code designed to help him find and kill people who deserve to be eliminated from society without getting a law enforcement's radar. How did I not get into this show? This sounds cool. This is a particular challenge for young Dexter as he begins a forensics internship at the Miami Metro Police Department. It starts streaming on Paramount Plus on December 13th. Do we have a Friday the 13th this month? Hold on. We do, guys. We have a Friday the 13th. So if you guys are a fan of Dexter, check this out on Paramount Plus. Oh, with Showtime. So it's probably on Showtime. Which will be Friday, December 13th. I never got into that show. I know there's a lot of my friends used to watch it, but I just never got into it. But then I'm reading the synopsis right now. I'm like, how did I not get into it? But it's like Game of Thrones. I love that time period. That's probably one of my favorite time periods. I love The Witcher, not with the new guy. I don't know. I might give it a chance. I haven't decided yet. I loved, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves growing up. I loved Lord of the Rings. I'm kind of getting into, but I love that time period. But I could not get into I always want to say Game of Thrones. What is up, Gunner Girl? How's it going? Nerd Report in the house. What is up? Wendy Corn, how's it going? Nerd Report with the happy birthday, Bernadette. Emily, thank you for gifting 1 membership, and welcome Joe Brew to the Wolfpack. Hearts for Emily and the new Wolfpack member. Thank you, Emily. I appreciate that. That's super cool of you. And Joe Brew, that is a cool name. I'm trying to think. I know there's other things coming out, and I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I know I'm missing something, but when I remember, I will let you guys know. So I know last stream we talked about, what was it? The satanic panic, with the hysteria of, but it's funny with the, I'm still thinking about it with the satanic panic. The stuff that they were talking about is kind of, and it's sad what they were talking about, because they were talking about SA with children, unfortunately. And that's kind of what caused at the elementary school or like a daycare center or something like that in Marina Del Rey, I think it was. And to me, it wasn't hysteria. And I'm pretty sure some of you agree, because it seems like, I hate to say it. It's like, it's a lot of times it's in the news nowadays. It's commonplace. We're hearing teachers sleeping with their students. So I did not see that as hysteria. I did remember with the music lyrics and how people thought that it was devil worshiping and stuff like that. And obviously it started with the Manson murders, but mass hysteria has been going on for a long time, believe it or not. And it's some of the strangest things. It's things that we would be chuckling about. So this is inside the 11 of the strangest cases of mass hysteria throughout history. From the laughing epidemic of 1962 to the killer clown scare of 2016, these cases of mass hysteria show just how bizarre and dangerous this psychological phenomenon could be. Mass hysteria events are some of the most curious mysteries of the human nature. After all, how can it be possible for large groups of people, oftentimes strangers, to believe in the same unexplained phenomenon or experience the same bizarre psychological symptoms? Over the century, countless examples of mass hysteria have left historians baffled, from the dancing plague of 1518 to the more recent Havana syndrome phenomenon, and many of these cases are just as puzzling now as they were when they first occurred. Dive into the 11 most famous tales of alleged mass hysteria that still captures our attention today. I get how it could happen years ago, because years ago there wasn't internet. You couldn't do your own research. It was kind of like even stories were told word of mouth. So I kind of understand like how something could get out of hand. I mean, I know I used to watch the Tudors too. Hence, I love the Renaissance period, and they would always say something, "Oh, that's the sweating sickness." But because of the way technology was, even back then, like medically, there were no, I want to say, cures, or knowledge like we do have today. So I get how that could happen back then. The dancing plague of 1518. In July of 1518, a woman named Fra Trophée stepped into the town square in Strasbourg, France, and suddenly began to dance uncontrollably. Soon, hundreds of people joined in and were seemingly unable to stop. For about 2 months, the dancing plague swept through the city, causing much alarm among the townspeople as more and more people joined in the frenzy, often dancing until they collapsed from exhaustion. At first, city leaders tried waiting out this bizarre epidemic, hoping that the dancers would simply tire themselves out. When that didn't work, they tried to encourage the dancing by building dancing halls and playing music for the afflicted. Unfortunately, this only seemed to make things worse. In the end, the town decided to ban dancing and music altogether. Anyone who continued to dance was carried off to a nearby shrine dedicated to Saint Vitus, a Catholic saint whom some local believed had cursed them with the dancing plague, where they were finally cured. Dancing plague. I mean, it's not that bad, dancing. By the time the epidemic abated that September, as many as 400 people had reportedly danced themselves to death. But while the dancing plague was over, the search for answers certainly wasn't. For centuries, historians had puzzled over what might have caused this bizarre phenomenon, suggesting everything from demonic possession to to poisoning from the ergot fungus. But the most likely explanation is that this event was a classic example of mass hysteria brought on by the rough conditions of life in medieval Europe. Matthew goes, yes, everybody cut Footloose. Footloose. I saw that movie recently. Emily Parkinson's goes, I grew up in the Midwest during that time. I never heard of the Satanic Panic until recently. Emily, the only thing I remember was the music. I didn't remember anything else, but I do remember like Twisted Sister. The lead singer, what's his name? I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I remember him, and he was on the news. D. Snyder. I remember him and them fighting for their music. Wendy goes, do you know what ergot is? I do not. It is a fungus. Hold on. The fungus grows on rye and related plants and produces alkaloids. Hold on. Except this is from Wikipedia, so I kind of take it from, because I know with Wikipedia anybody can like put their information in. So it grows on rye and related plants and produces alkaloids that can cause ergotism in humans and other mammals who consume grains contaminated with its fruiting structure. Hold on. What's the symptoms? The symptoms, it could cause a poisoning called the ergotism or ergotism. I don't know how to pronounce it. Early symptoms are nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, skin paresthesia, and chest pain. Convulsive symptoms, muscular convulsions, double vision, hallucinations, mania, psychosis, headache, nausea, and vomiting. Gangrenous symptoms, coldness and tingling in the extremity, disquamation, weak peripheral pulses, loss of peripheral sensation, edema. Other symptoms are headache, phimosis, delirium, hemiplegia, oh my God, unconsciousness, and death. For those that, because they were saying that the dancing sickness might have been caused by this fungus. I mean, it kind of, because it has convulsive symptoms, so kind of makes sense. Possibility. Wendy goes, meh, meh. Shelly, what is up? Bernadette goes, wasn't Hysteria also from the Victorian days where doctors had to put 2 and 1 in the stink and 2 in, or is that something else? Bernadette! They had crazy things there during the Victorian era too. Even then, like medically speaking, they weren't as advanced as we are now. So it was like the same thing. The mad gasser of Matone, real or mass hysteria. On the morning of August 31st of 1944, Urban Raff of Mattoon, Illinois, woke up to a strange smell in his home and a feeling of nausea and weakness. He initially suspected a gas leak, and when he turned to his wife to consult her on this theory, he found that she had been partially paralyzed. Soon, others began to report experiencing the same phenomenon. Early the next morning, another family nearby reported waking up with similar symptoms. And later that night, a woman named Aline Kearney claimed to have smelled an intense sweet odor that grew steadily stronger, and as it did so, she started to lose feeling in her legs. Chillingly, when her husband Bert returned home that night, he spotted a strange man lurking outside the bedroom window wearing dark clothing and a cap. Bert attempted to chase the man down but lost track of him. Afterward, local authorities issued a lookout warning for a man fitting the description Bert Kearney had provided. Word of the alleged gas attacks quickly spread around town, and soon everyone was on the lookout for the mad gasser of Mattoon, who was said to be pumping gas into residents' homes. About 30 more reports of attacks surfaced over the next 2 weeks. As you know, when I first read the headline, I thought it was actually someone passing gas because it said mad gasser. I was like, what? Was someone farting? That's what I thought. I'm not kidding you. More than 30 more reports of attacks surfaced over the next 2 weeks as the town erupted into a terrified frenzy. The situation became so volatile that even the FBI got involved. However, their arrival only seemed to heighten residents' panics, as it implied that the crimes were too serious for local police to handle. Finally, on September 12th, investigators announced that the mysterious smell had likely come from gas from a nearby war plant. The police later declared that many of the gasser attacks were likely the result of mass hysteria. After this announcement, reports of these attacks sharply declined. While no one knows the truth behind what caused the shocking example of mass hysteria, some have suggested it may have been perpetrated. No, it's not that perpetuated by women whose husbands were off fighting in World War II and who were feeling paranoid amid growing wartime fears and uncertainties. I literally thought they were talking about someone that let out a big fart. Bertie Dickles, I was like, that's me after Taco Bell. Matthew, I agree with you on that one. Mad Gasser also sounds like a race car. Wendy goes, I'm a gassy bitch. My gran will quote me better out than in. True. Wendy goes, she let it rip at midnight mass. Wouldn't pews, my girl. Heather whatever goes, the dog did it. I think the other day, because I was leaving the center. I think the other day I heard it sounded like a fart. Because I was checking to make sure all the doors were closed because I didn't want any of the dogs to come out. And I could have sworn one of the dogs farted. And I was like, did one of you guys fart? That sounded like a fart. And they were all looking at me like, not me. Bernadette goes, Mad Gasser sounds like a DC villain. Yeah, you know what, Bernadette? That's not far-fetched. It was either a fart or a burp. I couldn't tell. Havana syndrome, the mysterious illness targeting diplomats. In 2016, 21 American and Canadian diplomats reported suffering from a range of unexplained symptoms while working in Cuba, including ear ringing, nausea, insomnia, memory loss, and balance disturbances. Sufferers often report that their symptoms appeared very suddenly and that they first experienced them while at home or in the hotels. The phenomenon had come to be known as the Havana syndrome. At first, government officials suspected that this mysterious condition was the result of a malicious attack from some sort of unidentified sonic weapons. Actually, it sounds like maybe it was something in their building. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. The Cuban government adamantly denied any responsibility for the illness and agreed to cooperate with U.S. officials in their investigations. Still, in 2017, the U.S. pulled many of its diplomats out of Cuba and expelled 2 Cuban diplomats from the United States amid growing concerns about Havana syndrome. The following year, the Canadian government withdrew the families of Canadian diplomats from Cuba as well. Strangely, reports of Havana syndrome began popping up among U.S. officials in other locations across the globe, including Russia, China, Poland, Austria, India, and even the United States. In 2024, a report from the National Intelligence Council found that it was very unlikely that Havana syndrome was the result of an attack by a foreign adversary. Rather, it was probably an accumulation of pre-existing conditions, environmental factors, and conventional illnesses. Given the global panic over Havana syndrome, some have just suggested that the phenomenon is an example of mass hysteria. Still, reports of the illness continue to surface among U.S. officials serving in diplomatic posts around the world. According to a U.S. Government Accountability Office report, 334 Americans have been treated with relevant symptoms as of July of 2024. It could be. I'm trying to think of what it could be because, I mean, obviously it's U.S. officials going overseas, so maybe it's something that we don't have here that they're getting over there. Wendy goes better out than in. Demon, leave me. Matthew goes, a ghost who farts goes boo toot. Dusty goes, I hear my dog's farts. That just sounds like, to me, the Havana sickness sounds like something, or syndrome sounds like something that they're getting from being, maybe possibility of being in another country. The Salem witch trials, one of the most famous mass hysteria example. Very true. I feel like during this time, a lot of innocent people were put to death. And I always talk about this. They would put you to death. I mean, if you did something out of the ordinary, you're a witch. If you happened to be, you weren't even the cause of it, but somebody behind you got sick, and you, or everyone, I'll put this example, everyone got sick and you didn't, you're a witch. someone died and they knew why that person died, but you were standing right next to him, you're a witch. It's sad. If you floated, they would drop you down into the river or into the lake, and if you floated, you were considered a witch. A lot of women didn't. Perhaps the most famous example of mass hysteria is the Salem witch trials, were a series of trials and executions that took place in Salem Village, Massachusetts, between 1692 and 1693. I feel like it's the most known. Everyone talks about the Salem witch trials, and I feel for all those people that lost their lives during that time. Like I said earlier, I feel like these people are innocent and they died for no particular reason. The ordeal began in January of 1692 when the young daughter and niece of the Puritan minister Samuel Parris began to experience violent fits, convulsions, screaming, contorting, and making strange noises. Soon, other young girls in the village began exhibiting similar symptoms, sparking widespread concern among the townfolk. The case soon took a dark turn when the girls, pressed to explain their bizarre fits, accused 3 women in town of being witches and putting hexes on them: Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and Tituba, a woman enslaved by Parris. Town officials interrogated the accused for days, fearing persecution. Tituba eventually confessed to practicing witchcraft and implicated both Good and Osborne. She also suggested that there were other witches who had signed a deal with the devil, leading to a panic among the people of Salem, who soon began to accuse others of witchcraft. Many of these alleged witches were outcasts who lived outside the fray of Puritan beliefs and influence, or else had rivalries with other people in town. Also, too, if you believed in something other than what they believed in, you're a witch. While suspects who denied practicing witchcraft could still be sentenced to death, accused witches who confessed and implicated others were often allowed to live, as the Puritans believed they would face God's judgment after death. As a result, suspected witches would often accuse others of witchcraft to spare their own lives, creating a domino effect that quickly flamed out of control. On May 10th of 1692, Sarah Osborne became the first casualty of the witch hunt when she died in prison while awaiting her trial. A month later, the first witch was formally executed. Then on July 19th, 1692, 5 more accused witches were executed by hanging, including Sarah Good. In total, some 200 people were accused of witchcraft. 19 people were hanged. 1 man was pressed to death with heavy stones, and 5 more died in prison. The trials finally came to an end in 1693 as the accusations became more outlandish, implicating even those at the top of the social order. The magistrates also began rejecting forms of evidence that had been crucial for past convictions, such as spectral evidence, a form of testimony in which witnesses claimed to have seen the specter of their alleged attacker. Today, modern scholars have suggested that this witch hunting frenzy may have been caused by ergot poisoning, which we had spoke about with the previous article, or that the bewitched girls had experienced some combination of a variety of ailments, including epilepsy, asthma, encephalitis, and psychosis. But others have surmised it was a classic example of mass hysteria with fatal consequences. Matthew goes, I'll be here all night. Please tip your waitress. Wendy goes, read the Scarlet Letter. I think we had to read that in junior high school or elementary school, like 6th grade. I don't even remember, but I think we had to read that. I don't remember the book, though, because I wasn't into books back then. Wendy goes, a lot of magnetic energy in Salem, Massachusetts. I don't doubt it. Natasha goes, people think I'm a witch, but I'm not. Carol, I did. Hold on. Let me pause for a second. Carol reminded me. As always, guys, Skeleduck is somewhere in this background. Just remind me at the end of the stream and I will reveal his location. If you do not know who or what Skeleduck is or who I'm talking about, he is pictured in my left-hand corner. Might be your right-hand corner. That is what he looks like. Upper right, left-hand corner. That is what he looks like, and I hide him every stream. It's kind of hard in the studio because there's not a lot of places to hide in the studio, not like my studio at home. But It is what it is. That is what he looks like. Just remind me by the end of the stream, and I will reveal his location. Thank you, Carol, for reminding me. I forgot. Matthew goes, tip Lisa the waitress. Wendy goes, I was raised in this folklore and was a sponge for all of it. It's an interesting story. It is. I always like writing. And then there was the Connecticut witch trials, which they don't talk much about, which I spoke on a previous stream. The Hammersmith ghost of Georgian London. Anybody wants shirts? Beginning in November of 1803, several Londoners claimed to have witnessed a terrifying ghost clad in all white prowling the Hammersmith neighborhood. Known as the Hammersmith ghost, the figure was said to be the restless spirit of man who had recently died by S. The story sent locals into a terrifying frenzy, and some began to report that they had been physically attacked by this ghost. It was said that two women who encountered the spirit, one elderly and the other pregnant, were so overcome by what they witnessed that they passed a fright a few days after they allegedly saw it. And one servant later testified that he had seen the apparition raising from a local graveyard and that the ghost then grabbed him by the throat. I was going through the churchyard between 8 and 9 o'clock with my jacket under my arm and my hands in my pocket, the man claimed, when some person came from behind a tombstone, which there are 4 square in the yard behind me, and caught me fast by the throat with both hands. Then he testified the spirit vanished. Some locals, suspecting that the ghost was actually just some miscreant dressing in white and scaring people, began to patrol the streets with pistols in hope, or pew-pews, in hopes of catching the culprit. When these watches proved unsuccessful, a man named Francis Smith took matters into his own hands. On January 3rd of 1804, Smith set out to hunt down the ghost and put an end to its reign of terror. That night, he spotted a figure clad in white moving down Black Lion Lane. Smith called out to the figure twice. When it didn't reply, Smith, terrified, pew-pewed it in the face. But as it turned out, the figure was not the Hammersmith ghost, but an innocent bricklayer named Thomas Millwood. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. At his trial, Smith pleaded not guilty, insisting that he had only killed Millwood in self-defense, believing him to be the ghost. His friends and family attested to Smith's good character. However, the jury found him guilty of murder and sentenced him to death. His punishment was later commuted to 1 year of hard labor. The case took one more bizarre turn when a shoemaker named John Graham eventually came forward and confessed that he was responsible for some of the ghost sightings. He claimed he had dressed in a white sheet to frighten his apprentices who had been scaring his children with ghost stories. However, some locals still believe that the Hammersmith ghost was a paranormal phenomenon, one that ultimately ended in tragedy. I mean, considering how the way the person died, it's plausible that he could be a ghost, an angry ghost. But we will never know. Wendy goes, Lisa, I want to share some stories with your Gmail. Yeah, Wendy. It's Bernadette. Thank you, Bernadette. Bernadette dropped it in the chat. If you guys have any spooky stories you'd like to share, go ahead and email me at graysonreport13@gmail.com. And I'll share it on my no, I could share it. I'll share it on my next stream. Bernadette goes, I give up with that pinche duck. The aerial school phenomenon, mass hysteria, or alien encounter. On September 6th, a lot of these happened like recently. Well, I mean, 94 wasn't recently, but I'm thinking most of the stories were like in the 1800s. On September 16th, 1994, 62 students at the aerial school in Ruwa, Zimbabwe, claimed that they saw a UFO descend onto a field near their school during recess. It looked like it was glinting in the trees, one of the children told the BBC after the event. It looked like a round disc. Some of the children also claimed to have encountered aliens with big eyes and waxy skin who communicated with them telepathically about the importance of protecting the Earth's environment. This incident became known as the aerial school phenomenon, and when the news of these sightings broke, it swept all of Zimbabwe into a frenzy. In the weeks that followed, several UFO experts and even a Harvard psychiatrist came to the school to interview the students about what they had seen. Many of the children provided nearly identical accounts of the sighting and produced remarkably similar drawings of the aliens. While some experts believed the children's story, others suggested that the event was nothing more than an example of mass hysteria. After all, the aerial school phenomenon hadn't even been the first UFO sighting in southern Africa that week. In the days leading up to the event, reports had flooded in from across the region of strange lights streaking across the sky, while it was later determined that these people had simply been witnessing the re-entry of the Zenith 2, or Zenith, without the Zenit 2 rocket. These sightings had sparked a sort of UFO mania in the area. Finally, in 2023, a former aerial student named Dalen claimed that he had made the entire UFO story up. According to Dalen, he had told a couple of his fellow students that a shiny rock near the school was a UFO. The story spread, and before long, it had snowballed into one of history's most legendary UFO sightings. However, other former students continued to insist that they saw something truly out of this world that day. I mean, a lot of the times they do. It's like, I don't know if you guys, because there's that John Bonet story doc that's on Netflix right now, and a guy had come forward saying he's the one that had done it, right? They did a DNA test and his DNA didn't match the DNA that they had. So sometimes you do have people that come forward that will, I kind of have it hard to believe, but then they'll come forward and they'll say, hey, I'm the one that did it, but it doesn't match. But in this case, there's no way of proving it because it was a UFO. Oh, I saw a UFO, and then gossip from one end to the next, and then ended up going viral. It's like, what was the one thing that went viral? It was like an internet thing, and I can't think of it. Like, the guy was doing it for fun, and it ended up going viral, and he was like, oops. I forgot what it was called. I can't remember, but it went viral, and they were like, oops. And I can't think of it, like, off the top of my head right now. Kyle goes, wow, those drawings look like my son's pictures. I'll go back up. So this is a student's sketch of the alien encounter. I still don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think that aliens really, I mean, there might be some aliens that look like that, but I feel like aliens don't look like what we think they look like. Heather Whatever goes, my oldest and his friends thought they spotted a crop circle at school, but they did sleuthing, and janitor said it was an unusual thing with the lawn sprinkler. I was proud they sought truth. That is super cool. Nothing wrong with being skeptical and questioning things, because not everything you see could be truthful. The windshield pitting epidemic of 1954. Beginning in March of 1954, residents of Bellingham, Washington, and the surrounding areas began reporting unusual dents and pitting in their car's windshield. These pits were small, no wider than a dime, and initially locals thought they must be the work of vandals. Anywhere from 10 to 20 blue-edged pits first appeared in the glass, although as many as 50 craters may be discernible later, reported the international news service that spring. According to NPR, the tiny holes do not pierce the glass, but pit depth of 1/16 of an inch had been reported. Well, they could have gone down a road that had a lot of rocks and the rocks kicked up. When the story hit the press, reports of unusual windshield pitting swelled into the thousands. Motorists across Washington state began flagging down police cars to examine their pitting issues. As the phenomenon spread to nearby cities, affecting some 3,000 cars, people began to panic, thinking that these mysterious dents could be the result of cosmic rays, sand flea eggs, aliens, or even nuclear fallout. Some Seattle residents speculated that a new transmitter at the Jim Creek Naval Radio Station near Arlington, Washington, was producing waves that tampered with the structure of the glass. However, the Navy commander in charge of the facility pointed out that no pitting incidents had occurred at Jim Creek. By mid-April, panic over the windshield pitting epidemic was such that officials decided to make a statement. The phenomenon was 5% hoodlumism and 95% public hysteria. Following this statement, reports of pitting decreased dramatically. I mean, isn't that normal, though? We get chips on our car all the time. Kyle, how's it going? Bernadette's favorite, the killer clown mass hysteria event of 2016. In August of 2016, reports of a creepy clown said to be roaming Green Bay, Wisconsin began to make local headlines. A fan page for the clown dubbed Gags popped up on Facebook, compiling what appeared to be security images of the costume figure prowling the streets at night, holding a bouquet of dark balloons. So this is the said culprit. They called him Gags, the fictional killer clown. Things got stranger still when later that month, several children in Greenville County, South Carolina, reported that people dressed as clowns had tried to lure them into the woods. News of these incidents spread online. People across the United States began to report sightings of killer clowns, many of which appeared to be preying on children. In early September, police attempted to arrest a clown accused of bribing children with candy in North Carolina, but he fled before they arrived. Another man was arrested for dressing up like a clown and prowling the woods near an apartment complex in Kentucky. An 11-year-old girl in Georgia was arrested for bringing a knife to school because she was terrified by the recent reports of clowns attacking children. The panic over killer clowns was such that companies decided to pull down costumes from their shelves. Cities warned, I kind of vaguely remember this. Cities warned their residents not to dress up as a clown for Halloween, and neighborhood watch groups formed to protect their communities. Some media outlets even reported that a clown purge was rumored to occur on Halloween Eve that year. Evidently, this did not happen, but it did not stop people from forming clown hunting mobs across the United States. Ultimately, around a dozen people were arrested for clown-related activity during this period, and a 16-year-old boy in Pennsylvania was fatally stabbed during the altercation with someone in a clown mask. However, most of these reports turned out to be a hoax. In fact, it was revealed that Gags, the clown who started it all, had been a publicity stunt staged to promote a new horror movie. In short, the killer clown scared proved to be a little more than an example of mass hysteria. The media had an interest in reporting clowns. We, the public, like hearing scary stories about clowns. Certain individuals pick up on the idea of being clowns. David Wilson, professor of criminology at Birmingham City University, told The Guardian in 2016, "It will die out. It's a phobia du jour." And die out it did. After Halloween of 2016, reports of creepy clowns sharply declined across the globe. Now they are nothing more than a memory. I think there's people that still dress up as creepy clowns, though. Bernadette goes actually like Pennywise. Pennywise is cool. He's supposed to return in that series. Welcome to Derry, I think is what it's called. The Laughing Epidemic of 1962. In January of 1962, I feel like a lot of these started out in January. 3 girls at a religious boarding school for girls in Kahasha, Tangan, Tanganyika, now Tanzania, began laughing and crying uncontrollably. Before long, dozens of their peers joined in and they were seemingly unable to stop. According to the afflicted, the laughing attacks came on suddenly and often led to crying, fainting, rashes, and breathing problems. The fits lasted anywhere from a few hours to 16 days, and no one knew what was causing them. Whoa, that's a long time to be laughing. These laughing attacks eventually affected 95 of the school's 159 students. They were so disrupted that the school was forced to close in March of that year. It reopened in May, but not long after, even more students became afflicted with laughing fits, forcing the school to close once again in June. Meanwhile, I mean, if you saw someone laughing, sometimes that makes you laugh, doesn't it? Meanwhile, the laughing spread throughout the region. Some 1,000 people in the surrounding area, most of them children, fell victim to these laughing fits, causing 14 schools to temporarily close. The attacks finally abated after about 18 months, leaving villagers with more questions than answers. Today's scholars suspect the laughing epidemic may have been a case of mass hysteria brought on by the stresses imposed on young students at British-run schools during the time when Tanganyika had just achieved independence and was facing a period of political uncertainty, but the exact cause of the laughing remains a mystery. Bernadette goes, I work with a lot of real clowns. Kyle goes, sounds like something the Joker would do just for kicks. Lisa Boo goes, yep, laughter is contagious. Panda Bear. My mind went to the Laughing Man and Ghost in the Shell. Dusty goes, if you've ever been to a circus, the clowns are amazing. Bernadette, yes, there is actually a clown school, believe it or not. There's also, I think, what's his face? Jackie Chan, when he started out, he went to like a school that was like for circus, like for acrobatics and stuff. So that's how he started out, if I'm not mistaken. So the satanic panic in the 1980s, I did speak about this. I think it was my previous stream. So if you guys missed that one, check it out. In 1980, Canadian psychiatrist Lawrence Pazder and his psychiatrist patient, Michelle Smith, published a book titled Michelle Remembers. In it, Pazder claimed to have used the now discredited recovery memory therapy on Smith to uncover the truth of her past trauma. According to Pazder, when Smith was a child, she had been the victim of satanic ritual A inflicted by a powerful satanic cult. The book helped spark a global moral panic as the public began to fret that satanic cult members were walking among them, secretly inflicting their cruel will on the innocent. Soon, thousands of other unsubstantiated cases of ritual SA were being reported around the world. At its height, the satanic panic inspired parents group to advocate against pop culture phenomena they deemed to be demonic, including Dungeons and Dragons and heavy metal and rock music. With the Dungeons and Dragons, I guess one of the parents, their son had died from S, I believe it was, and she thought it was the work of the devil. And then obviously how I had mentioned earlier, heavy metal, they thought that the lyrics had some demonic meaning to it. The panic reached a boiling point during the McMartin preschool trials. In 1983, Judy Johnson, the mother of a young boy at McMartin Preschool in California, called the police to report that her son had been emmed by a McMartin teacher named Ray Buckley. Police later released a letter to all McMartin preschool parents warning them that their children may have been a victim at school. This caused a panic among parents, and before long, more allegations of CA and satanic rituals at the school surfaced. However, when professionals interviewed the children about possible abuse, they used inappropriate and leading questions to get them to concoct stories. Meanwhile, Johnson's claims grew increasingly outlandish. For instance, she claimed Bucky, I don't know why I said Buckley. Bucky had made her son ride naked on a horse, and that Bucky had worn a Santa Claus costume during the previous article did not talk about this. In 1985, Johnson was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, but by the point the case had already blown up in the media. In the end, federal investigators into the school turned up zero evidence of ritual SA. It appeared that the entire case had been an outbreak of mass hysteria. All charges were dropped in 1990, but the damage had been done. By 1984, the McMartin preschool had permanently shut down, unable to salvage its reputation in the face of the scandal. According to the New York Times, some 200 people were arrested on charges related to satanic activity during the Satanic Panic, and dozens were convicted, including the West Memphis 3 in Arkansas. But of the roughly 12,000 claims of ritual SA made during this period, not a single one could be validated by the National Center of Child Abuse and Neglect. The evidence wasn't there, but the allegations of satanic ritual abuse never really went away. Ken Lanning, a former FBI agent from the Behavioral Science Unit, told the New York Times, when people get emotionally involved in an issue, common sense and reason go out the window. People believe what they want and need to believe. It's very true what he said. Heather, whatever goes, says a lady that worked for my husband said she was one of those kids. Ooh. Kyle goes, now I'm having flashbacks about the clown episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Wendy goes, brainwashed a Baptist. Thanks, parents, for your journey. I had no choice. Heather Wetter added maybe a BSer. The mysterious 1969 Berkshire UFO incident that rocked a small town. Here is an artistic depiction of the alleged UFO incident in Berkshire County. Oh my God, I can't talk. Massachusetts. On the night of September 1st of 1969, dozens of residents across Berkshire County, Massachusetts, claimed to have witnessed a UFO. Or is it Berkshire County? We had listeners call the radio station that evening, said David Eyes, general manager of a local radio station, WSBS, according to DBH. They didn't know it was a UFO at the time. They just called the station and said something bizarre is happening. One 9-year-old boy named Thomas Reed even claimed that he and his friends were abducted by aliens that night. According to Reed, he and his family were driving across a covered bridge in Sheffield when a giant dish-shaped object appeared in the sky. He claimed they were then pulled into the spacecraft. Everything got really calm. It was like being in the middle of a hurricane, Reed told WAMC in 2015. I did say it correctly. For some odd reason, I thought I didn't. There was like a barometric change in pressure. It was just like a dead silent. Then there was an eruption of crickets and frogs, and it got really loud, and that was it. Reed claimed to remember very little from his time on board the spacecraft, though he said its interior resembled an airplane hangar and that he saw two alien creatures that looked like giant insects. Then before he knew it, he was back in his family's car. It was as if the whole experience had never happened, although he noted that some of his family members appeared to have been placed into different seats. In 2015, the Great Barrington Historical Society recognized the 1969 Berkshire UFO incident as an official historical event. Several residents even erected a monument near the covered bridge where Reed and his family claimed to have been abducted. However, in 2019, the town tore the monument down, claiming it had been built on a city property without permission. In 2020, Netflix featured the 1969 Berkshire UFO incident on the series Unsolved Mysteries, bringing the phenomenon back into the spotlight. Now a new generation is raising questions about whether the strange story is true or simply another example of mass hysteria. What do you guys think of this one? Do you think the 9-year-old was telling the truth, or do you think he had a vivid imagination? I want to believe that this stuff is happening, but it's very hard for me to believe. I know back then sci-fi was really big, so a 9-year-old could have a big, huge imagination. So it's kind of hard to say. Only Thomas Reed knows himself the truth. It's hard to tell with those. I'm always 50-50 when it comes to those. I'm always in the middle because I don't know. Like, I want to believe, so I want to go this way, but then at the same time, I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I know this was, like I said, sci-fi was huge back then. It could have been a vivid imagination of a 9-year-old because I know when I was young, I had a huge imagination. So, I feel like it's, you know what I mean? It's like I want to go this way, but then I've got like, I'm questioning it at the same time. So it's hard. I don't really consider that like a mass hysteria though. I feel like maybe their version of mass hysteria is like viral, like it went viral type of thing. But I don't see that as hysteria. But like I said, only Thomas will know the truth because he was there. It's with anybody. If anybody witnesses or experiences anything, the only person that really knows the truth is the person that experienced it. Unfortunately. And especially nowadays with the technology, it's really hard for me to believe. Even when people take photos and they're like, yeah, that ghost. Like I saw one today. Because I follow Slap. I think I follow Slap Ham, like the group, and they'll post, pictures. What is this in the picture? And somebody, I guess someone was in Australia and they went ghost hunting because their daughter's a big fan of Sam and Colby. So they were taking pictures at a cemetery and you see this figure. Cause I was like, what am I looking at? And then I finally see a figure. One person points out the figure has a shadow. Another person said a figure has a shadow, but that's cool. If you're a spirit, you don't have a shadow. I mean, it looks promising, but the shadow threw me off. And it's moving from because there was a tree. So in one picture, it was before the tree. And then in another picture, it was standing on the other side of the tree. But it had a shadow in both pictures. And I'm like, yes, it looks like a ghost, but the shadow, it makes it's not a spirit because spirits don't cast shadows. They're not human beings. They're energy. They're the shamanistic unicorn Tam. What is up? So that's what, but everyone's like, oh my God, that is so cool. I was like, dude, the shadow though. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to say that you didn't, because they're like, we didn't do anything to this photo. Like a lot of people say, I'm not saying that you did something to the photo, but you very well might have had caught someone walking through and they happen to look like a spirit. Kyle goes, if it's a real person, it could be just as freaky. Exactly. It could be just as freaky. I mean, the person that they took a picture of was freaky looking. I mean, it's at night at a cemetery. You're going to think everything's creepy there. It doesn't matter. You could have taken a picture of me at a cemetery and it'd be creepy at night. Super cool shamanistic unicorn Tam. Kyle goes, who's watching you from the darkness? There could be people watching us now. We never know. So I found this cool story. I was a big, I haven't played any of the newer ones. Zelda. I was a big fan of Zelda when it was on Nintendo. I just aged myself. I like those kind of games. I'm more of an old school Nintendo type of gameplay girl. The Legend of Zelda's Strangest encounter is a real-life ghost story. What is arguably the strangest experience in the Legend of Zelda franchise draws heavily on a real-life ghost story for inspiration. Link can have several different kinds of spiritual encounters throughout the franchise, interacting with spirits that range from being entirely benign to extremely hostile. These can be distinctively unsettling at times. One encounter in particular blurs the line between Hyrule and urban legends in a way that many people may not expect. There are plenty of strange occurrences and mysterious enemies in The Legend of Zelda, with many games in the franchise including at least one scenario that defies easy explanation. It is also well established that the Supernatural is an integral part of Hyrule. Ghosts can be among both Link's toughest enemies and firmest allies. However, while there have recently been prolific depictions of spirits, such as the haunting depths of Tears of the Kingdom, the most striking spiritual encounter of all is also humbler in scale. Zelda's toilet hand is a real ghost story. The unusual entity is directly inspired by Japanese stories. Oh, I think I've talked about it, the folklore. In 3 separate games, namely Oracle of Ages, Majora's Mask, and Skyward Sword, Link encounters a creepy hand reaching out of a toilet. These hands are not hostile toward Link and instead ask him for paper. It is one of the strangest things found in The Legend of Zelda, but these hands are actually inspired by a real variety of stock ghost stories found in Japan. And I think I've mentioned these because I love folklore. As explained by Shigeru Miyamoto in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, these stories revolve around people using a traditional squatting style Japanese toilet only for a hand to grab at them from beneath. Naturally, this idea can be very disconcerting, and Miyamoto acknowledges it as a very scary story. It is. Makes you, I mean, sometimes you know how when you sit on the toilet, you don't look? And then you'll see like some random news story about a woman finding or someone finding a snake in the toilet. And it sometimes makes me think of that when I'm sitting on the toilet. So it is a scary thing, like thinking that something could reach up at you. Despite this, however, the hands Link meets are much less threatening than what the original story implies. Instead, it seems they are simply desperate enough for toilet paper that any variety of paper will suffice. Oracle of Ages' hand accepts stationery as part of the game's trading quest, and Majora's Mask accepts any letter or title deed. Likewise, Skyward Sword's female ghost, Fiona, can be given Colin's love letter to Karen. The hands may reference multiple ghosts. A deadly Japanese bathroom spirit offers his own victim's paper. Interesting enough, there is another Japanese, more malevolent bathroom ghost who may also have influenced the hands. aka Manto is said to offer people a choice of colored paper with a specific color determining how he kills his unsuspecting victims. Although the specifics vary, choosing red often results in bloodshed, whilst blue promotes strangulation. Surviving is best achieved by refusing Akamanto's paper or ignoring him altogether. Although it may simply be a coincidence, it is curious to note that Zelda's hands effectively invert Akamanto's own actions by being the ones to ask for paper. Hand-like monsters are among the scariest monsters in The Legend of Zelda, but the ghosts that can be found haunting toilets are themselves some of the most benign spirits in the series. Although the toilet hands can still be creepy and mysterious, they are also simply treated as some of the world's oddest inhabitants. It is interesting to see what these figures of creepy real-life ghost stories have become in The Legend of Zelda, with the games combining their unmistakable appearance with a far less menacing twist on their behavior. That is actually kind of funny. Now it's piqued my interest. I have not played those games, so I don't know, but now it piqued my interest because that's kind of cool. Dusty goes, we have so many bugs in Hawaii, I always check out the bathroom first. Matthew heard it from Stargate's SG1 and Dark Matter Sci-Fi Channel writer Joseph Malozzi. Matthew also says Austin Power. Who does number 2 work for? Wendy goes, how can I play Zelda now? It's on Switch. If you have a Switch, Wendy, I don't have those games. Now I'm intrigued. Now I kind of want one. It's on the Switch. And also, too, if you have the Nintendo Online, you can play some of the older games, too. The old Nintendo games. And I think Super Nintendo's on that there, too, as well. I haven't played mine in a while. I have to pick it up again. The Shamanistic Unicorn Tam used to want that game so bad. Now it's like now I want to see the hand in the toilet. They'd be like, you're going to buy a game because you want to see a hand in the toilet? Sounds pretty cool, actually. Panda Bear goes, I have played Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but never the older ones. Kyle goes, I bet Japan has a kink for that. Wendy goes, Stargate was the bomb. I have the games and the old. Not sure what OLEOD is, Wendy. Also want to give a shout out to Heather Whatever for your PayPal. Hearts for Heather Whatever, guys. She says Spaceballs is free on YouTube for another time, of course. So if you guys want to check out Spaceballs, it's free on YouTube. I love that movie. They cannot make a movie like that ever again. Kyle goes, there's a potential remake of Stargate. Not sure if it's legit. I kind of believe it because it seems like this is the time of remakes. So I wouldn't put it past. It might be just an idea, like they haven't put it in stone yet, but I wouldn't pass it. I would totally think that they would bring that to fruition, especially nowadays because we're getting a lot of reboots. All right, guys, I am going to open it up for thank you, Shamanistic Unicorn Tam. I like your topic. It's perfect. Thank you. I'm going to open it up for questions, guys, and I'll give you a few minutes to look for Skeleduck. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Panda goes, where's the duck? I'm gonna show you in a minute. I'm giving you some time to look for him. Again, guys, if you have any spooky stories, Bernadette dropped the email and I may share it on my next stream. If it's a video, though, I can't really show some videos here on YouTube because YouTube likes to be pesky when it comes to some videos. So I'm trying to stay on the down low with that. But if it's an article or anything like that, if it's something I shared before, I would find something similar to it. Lisa Boo goes, how are the shelter animals doing? They're doing good. We had an adoption. Dog was adopted. It's been like after Thanksgiving, it was kind of dead at my center. But we did have an adoption on Saturday when I was there. A dog. Hopefully he was surrendered and then brought back again because he's super hyper. But I believe this family is going to be a super cool family for him. So I'm happy for him. And then a cat was adopted on Sunday. But they're all doing good. Always a joy when I go into work. I get to see their smiling faces. We had this dog, but they transferred him to another center because they like to transfer dogs just to see, maybe because I had 2 dogs that had been there for a month and they transferred to another center and they got adopted that weekend. I was like, yay. So they transferred, his name was Georgie. He's this big hound dog. Like he looks like a beagle, but a huge hound dog. Oh my God. When he barked, it was like, woo. Now that he's gone, it's so quiet. I didn't realize how loud he was. He's a sweet dog. I miss him to death. Don't get me wrong. He was a sweet dog, but he's huge. He's like a big dog, but like a love bug. Matthew goes, I tried vegan ramen, not again. Noodle texture of wet sandpaper without the abrasiveness. Matthew, depends on which ones you tried. Depends. Because there's a brand that I get that I like. And then there's another type that I don't like. So I don't, I haven't, but there's one that I really like and it tastes really good. Heather, whatever goes out, yay, forever homes. My former pup was a retread, but home with us for 11 years. That's super cool. Wendy goes, we love our fur babies. I should have been a vet instead of a nurse. Dusty goes, I love the shelters. Got mine from our local one. She's so wonderful. Shamanistic Unicorn Tam goes, those are all great stories. Gunner Girl goes, does the adoption process do like a background check or something for the people wanting to adopt for the holidays? Basically what they do is they submit an application. If they live in an apartment building, we have to have proof that they can have the animal there, or if they're renting, I have to have proof that they can have. It could be a phone call. We don't adopt out of state because we do have follow-up visits. Say the person can't, for whatever reason, the animal doesn't work out for them. We do ask that they return the animal to us, but just give us some time because, we might not have some space. They don't really do like house checks, but it's pretty much basically the first. We don't adopt outside cats. So if they put indoor, outdoor, that's obviously, what I mean? It's like, okay, that obviously is a red flag. We won't accept that application. Or if they're out of state, we won't accept that application. I had to triple check with the out of state thing because I didn't know. But I figured that much. It kind of was like weird to me. Like, why would we adopt out of state? That's kind of weird. I don't know what consists of the follow-up visits, but they do sign paperwork saying that that's a possibility. So, I know what you mean, Gunner Girl, because a lot of people are buying, and that's what I'm going to keep an eye on. They're buying animals as gifts, but they cannot transfer ownership of that animal. So if they cannot, that's another thing that they sign. You cannot transfer ownership of the animal. So then once you adopt that animal stays with you. But I know what you mean with that because a lot of people buy animals for gifts. And so I am definitely going to have my radar up with that one. You kind of can tell like you can kind of scope the people out and kind of know like what the person is. Like they'll do meet and greets with the dog. You could see their interaction with the dog. So, I mean, that's where you can kind of see, or with the cat, or see what type of person they are. We do get people that just come in because they think we're a petting zoo. And that kind of irritates me because we're not a petting zoo. I'm there to help find these animals forever homes. And that irritates me. I get it that I know there's a guy that comes around because he's looking for that perfect dog. I'm fine with that. He wants a perfect dog, which nothing wrong with that. So he'll come and browse. But I had one where they wanted, oh, can I pet that dog? Can I do this? And I'm like, dude, we're not, like, I'm thinking in my head, we're not a petting zoo. You know what I mean? Dusty goes, yes, sir. Shelter requires an online questionnaire before getting an adoption appointment with them. Yeah, it's like it's where you weed out people, where you use, you know what I mean? You could tell by people if you get a bad vibe from them. Or maybe I got a bad vibe of it, but I know they're going to take care of the cat type of thing. Sometimes you just know by the people that come in. Heather, whatever goes, agree, Lisa, but you don't want their hopes up. I get a lot of people asking if we foster them out. I was like, no. Well, can you make an exception? No. I started thinking it because when I was first asked that, I was like, what the hell are they asking me this for? Because and I was like, no, I'm guessing it's liability. And then I started thinking about it. I go, no, it's because the animal goes to your house and then all of a sudden you bring them back because it doesn't work out. Hell no. You're not doing that. That causes more stress to him. It's going to make him depressed. No, I'm not going to do that to the animal. Because it's a big commitment when you adopt an animal. Also, too, like when they adopt the animal, there's an adoption fee, which helps pay for their medical, because it is a nonprofit shelter. Majority of we run on volunteers. Aside from the managers and the cleaning crew, we run on volunteers. We heavily rely on donations. I get a lot of donations, dog food, laundry soap, because we do clean the blankets and everything. So that kind of deters them too in a way, because if you bring the animal back, there's no refund. So they will lose. I mean, they're not, I mean, it's like making a donation to us, but there's no refund. So I think that's another way of um, deterring people as well. Bernadette goes, Lisa, the protector of animals. I love those animals. I love each one of them like they're my own. Heather, whatever goes, the shelter called me and said, if you want to return him, do it soon. I said I wouldn't do that. Kyle, that too. I said that if something happened. Kyle says, plus the animal could get sick in someone's care, then come back to the shelter will make the other animal sick. Exactly. That too. I mean, all the animals at the shelter, they're fixed. Except for one. I think I have one dog that's not, but majority of them are fixed. They have all their vaccines, are up to date on their vaccines. We do not take any animal off the street. Because when you do find an animal off the street, I know a lot of people don't like taking them to shelters, to the the high kill shelters. Like the ones we have in this area, we got the Inland Valley Humane Society. We've got city has certain ones. They don't like taking them there, but if you found this animal on the street, somebody could be looking for this animal. So they do put the animal on a 14-day hold. So it does give you, so it gives adequate, like 2 weeks for, say they do have an owner, to find them. But I get a lot of people coming in, can you take this animal? And I was like, I'm sorry, we don't take the animals in, because if that animal happens to be sick and I bring that animal in, it could sacrifice all my animals. It can make them all sick. And it's sad. I get them. They don't want to take it there, but unfortunately, we don't, because of that reason, because it's kind of like a quarantine type of thing. And you don't know, that guy could have taken his ex-girlfriend's dog and said he found her. You know what I mean? So it's better just to take them to the shelters that way, because that's the first place people are going to go to find their dog. Yeah, Dusty goes, I paid $92 when I decided on her. It depends on their age as to the cost. Exactly. Lisa Boo, I totally agree. Working with animals is so rewarding. It is. And all the animals that we do have are microchipped. So it's very important, if you do have an animal that's microchipped, make sure you register that microchip, because if the dog happens to get lost, you won't be able to find it. Even a cat, even though it's going to be an indoor cat, you never know. Cats do have a tendency to run out. Even a cat. But it is a rewarding job. I've been there for about a month. Yeah, a month. And I'm enjoying it. I'm learning the ropes. Dusty goes, they said she had been in the shelter for over a year and had been in a different shelter on the east side of the island at first. Lisa Boo, yeah, and update information regularly, especially if you move. Make sure you put the most recent for the microchip, so that because that's the first thing they're going to do, is they're going to scan for a microchip to see if the dog belongs to someone or a cat. Gunner Girl goes, my daughter-in-law got a puppy from a shelter. He didn't have distemper, but he is a carrier and gave it to their other dog, microchip. Oh, that is sad. Microchip is a great idea. I know, even the puppies that we do have, we send them out to foster because they are not fully vaccinated. They do come to the shelter during the weekends, and they have to see if anyone adopts. We had one puppy. She was a Siberian Husky. No one, I mean, I had a few people look at her and I go, oh my God, that's going to be a big dog. Cause Huskies. Huskies are huge, big dog, beautiful dog, had the blue eyes and everything. Beautiful puppy. She was, I think she was 5 months. So, one of the coordinators was like, here, let's try it at a different center. Tried it, was at a different center. The next day got adopted. I was like, yes. So I guess it just depends on location. But the puppies do, and the kittens that aren't fully vaccinated do stay with foster. Matthew goes, my rascal was chipped. Not all cats want to go outside, but there are some that are curious and will, if you leave a door open or something, they'll go out. But it is a cool job. I love it. Doesn't feel like I'm working. I really don't feel like I'm working when I'm there. It might get a little hectic because it, like on a weekend or something, oh, how can I see this dog? And then I'll get someone else. Oh, how can I see this dog? That's where it might get a little bit hectic, but nothing like what I had to deal with in retail. Nothing like that. Not that, I mean, the people, even I had one customer that was kind of pushy, or not even customer, somebody that walked in saying that they had a stray and they were pushy. Well, the shelter told me to leave it on the street, kind of. But other than that, no, I've had worse in retail. Like that's nothing. Matthew goes, rascal did, but if a car comes by making noise, she wanted back in. She didn't like thunder and the rain either. But love them all. We have dogs and cats. I know some centers have bunnies. But enjoy the cats. Every time I come in, I say hi to the kittens that are there. There's one amazing cat, and I'm surprised he hasn't gotten adopted. He's amazing. He melts. He's like the friendliest thing. I have two cats that are like that, an older cat and like a teenager cat. We call them teenager kittens. And he's amazing. Amazing cat. Love him to death. Heather, whatever goes, my oldest son fostered pits for a shelter in Ohio. We have two pits. Oh my God. They look menacing. They do. One of them's a puppy though. One of them's a puppy and he's a brindle color. He's like the pit color. And then the other one's like an auburn color. She is such a sweetheart. She will roll over and let you do belly rubs. And you would not think of that from a pit bull. They are the sweetest dogs you can ever meet. Dusty goes, I would kind of like to volunteer at the shelter. I know I would get attached. I have my favorites. I do. I have my favorites. In fact, one of my cat favorites got adopted on Sunday. She reminded me of Lewis's cat, Flash. She looked exactly like him except all gray. And she was my favorite. Every time I would come in, I would grab her and give her a hug and scratch. Except the day before, Saturday, she wouldn't let me for some odd reason. She just wanted to be on her perch. But but I'm more happy that they find a home. So that's kind of how I think. Because you do have your favorites, but then you think you get really happy when they do find their forever home. Bernadette goes, I had a red-nosed pit, the biggest baby in the world. My cat puss was the devil. Exactly, Matthew. Pits are only as bad as the person who has them. Exactly. But pit bulls do have a bad reputation, but it's because of the people that own them. And they are the most loving dogs, playful dogs you will ever meet. And I will advocate for them because they are the nicest. The nicest. Even there's one dog that we have that's kind of shy. He's only been there for a week, but he kind of sulks. And I went in there the other day, and he rolled because I was like, "Oh, what's the matter, buddy?" Because I always see him sulking, so I feel bad. Even when there's a few people that looked at him, and they were and I was like, "He's new. He's shy. Takes time." They were like, "Look at him. He's so scared." I go, "It takes time. You got to have." I went in there, I was like, "What's the matter, buddy? What's the matter?" And he rolled over and he let me rub his belly. And I was like, "Oh my God, you're so sweet." Lisa Boo goes, that's sad. I would be sitting with them a lot. There's one that he's scared of everybody. He's scared of the volunteers. He won't even go on the walk. I will pick him up and take him to the grass. I'm beginning to think he's not leash trained. So that's what I've been doing. And then the other day, because it was kind of slow, I took him to the front desk, sat down, and I had him in my arms, and he was shaking. I was like, "It's all right, buddy," because I always try to talk to him because he's scared. And I think I'm the only one that like pulls him up and takes him to the grass because I feel bad for him. I'm like, "Come on." When I put him back in his kennel, he licked my hand, and I was like, "Oh my gosh." Shamanistic Yuri Tamsin, I thought you were gonna say he farted. So I've been trying. I had a few people asking about him, and I tell them, the truth. I'd be like, "Look, he's shy, and I'm not trying to deter you, but he needs a lot of patience. But he's the sweetest. All the dogs are. I don't care. I mean, you know what I mean when people go to a shelter, they're looking for that dog that will come up to you and lick you and be happy. They're not looking for the dog that hides or same thing with the cats. It's the same thing, and it's like it's disheartening because that it doesn't mean that it's a bad cat or a bad dog. It could be the lovingest most dog you could ever have if you give it a chance. Lisa Bugo's animals see our soul. They definitely do. But yeah, it's amazing. I enjoy. I cannot wait to get back tomorrow. Like, honestly, Matthew goes, Lewis is so good with dogs, including Lewis. Matthew! Wendy goes, Lisa found her niche. Resourcefulness. Yes. I've always liked animals, though. Kyle goes, for my high school 40-hour community service, I would walk the tough pits, rowdies, and mistiffs at the local shelter because they didn't like anyone else. Yeah, a lot of people. We also have this beautiful, like, I think cattle. I don't know if she's a cattle dog. I think she's a cattle dog. Beautiful, has 2 different color eyes. A lot of the volunteers won't walk her. And she is the sweetest dog. She's big, don't get me wrong, but she is the sweetest dog you can meet. And I'm like, no one walked you? Heather, whatever goes, I have a mini schnauzer. They don't shed, but they have high exercise equipment, even in older age. Not for all households. I know, it just depends on the dog, too. Some dogs need stimulation. Carol goes, my Roddy mixes hid in the corner at the shelter, got him home. Within 2 days, he opened up. Exactly. Sometimes it just takes patience. Sometimes it's an environment. They don't like the environment. Sometimes they just need an extra TLC. I know, like, most people who've had dogs before understand that. Bernadette goes, that's a great feeling when you can't wait to go to work. Happy for you, Lisa. Thank you, Bernadette. Wendy goes, I could train her red or blue healer. I don't know which kind, but she's beautiful. Tyrana goes, that sounds like a good job. I'm happy for you. It is. All right, guys. I know I went on a ramble about animals, but that should have given you enough time to look for Skeleduck. Skeleduck is right there, right where my finger is. Right under, I guess you call the where my name is, the lower thirds. He's sticking, his beak is sticking out. He's right there. Right where my finger's pointed. So you can barely see his beak, but it's right there in the shadows. He's being Batman. He's like, I'm Batman. Right there where my finger is. Matthew's like, I'm Skella Batman. All right, guys, any last minute questions before I end this stream? And that's why I'm late on Thursdays and Saturdays. It's because of work, if you guys were wondering. Yeah, it's behind my my name and my hashtag. Dusty goes, I'm not sure if they're correct about my dog's age. They told me she is 5.5. The vet could not concur. She acts like a puppy at times, but I'm thinking about 3. It's only an estimated age date because I know someone had come in and they adopted a Chihuahua, and she's this small. And they were like, oh, they told us she was a year old, and it comes out the fact that she was 6 months. And I was like, that? Like, I could tell right off she was a puppy. And so she was asking, like, how could you tell? I was like, just the way she acted, like, you could tell. But then there's older dogs that act like they're a puppy. So it's like kind of hard too. Wendy goes, pinchy placement, Lisa. Thank you, Tyrana. All right, guys, if you don't have any further questions, without further ado, I am going to end the stream here. I will see you on the next one, which will be Thursday at about 7:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10:45 Eastern Standard Time. Be there, be squared, stay spooky, guys. Sweet nightmares, and have a great rest of your week. Thank you, guys, and good night. See you on the next one.